Grammy Sunday. I'm Tetris Kelly here at Soho Warehouse in downtown Los Angeles. We have a great show for you today. With behind-the-scenes access, exclusive interviews with nominees like Dum Dalla and Scott Hoying of Pentatonix, some hot performances, plus we'll talk to Billboard's experts covering all things you need to know. The biggest snubs, hottest genres, and their picks in the top 4 categories, including the highly competitive Best New Artist. Oh, and by the way, we'll introduce you to all 8 Best New Artist nominees. So let's run it down. Welcome to Billboard Celebrates Music's Hottest Night. First up are 2 of Billboard's most in-the-know contributors, Katie Atkinson and Rania Niftos, to talk about some of the biggest moments in music this year and what everyone is talking about going into the Grammys. Hey ladies, how's it going?
Hi, Tetris.
I love that you got the green memo with me,
Right.
Katie.
Sorry, Rania.
I know,
Sorry,
no one
Rania.
informed me.
You were not informed, but you guys are the most informed in music. So let's talk about this year. Can't talk about it without the biggest tours. Beyonce, Taylor, Eras Tour, Renaissance Tour. How did that shape music this year?
I mean, you were at both the tours
I
this year.
did. I went to both. I think Tetris did too.
Had a good time.
Basically, 2 of our biggest superstars had their career-defining tours this year. And I think that that kind of goes into the Grammys because it's like, who's going to be next? Whoever gets coronated as like the big star after Sunday night, maybe they're going to have the big career-defining tour next year, right?
Absolutely, and I mean, Taylor was also having a big year in nominations as well, correct?
Oh yeah, I mean, she's nominated Album of the Year for Midnights, as we've already talked about, and she's basically dominating the Grammys once again, as she does with every single album cycle. Something that I really liked about her tour, and I'm hoping that more artists do it, and it seems like with Madonna and the Jonas Brothers, there are already artists who are playing on this Eras thing, you know, where they want to celebrate their discography and the music that made them who they are. And I hope that more artists look towards the future to do something like that.
And we can't talk about women having a big year without talking about the Barbie soundtrack. I mean, Lizzo, Dua Lipa, Billie Eilish, that soundtrack had bops on bops.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the nominations, it shows how it's not just in the soundtrack for visual media categories, it's also in the Song of the Year category and the Record of the Year category. We've got Dua Lipa and Billie with noms up there, and then Nicki Minaj and Ice Spice in Best Rap Song too. So it just like touches every part of the Grammy story.
And we're talking about some of the great successes of the year, but there was also some drama this year with some snubs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, could we talk about it? Like, BTS members needed Grammy nominations.
You
Like,
know I
what
wanted to talk
happened?
about it.
You know the ARMY is a vocal fan base, and when those nominations were announced, they all expected, I mean, we had 2 BTS members get Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits for the first time on their own, all in the Grammy eligibility period, and yet they're nowhere to be found in these nominations.
I mean, let's talk about those big hits. We have Jimin with Like Crazy. He was the first solo Korean artist to have a #1 on the Hot 100. Jungkook, of course, him featuring Latto with 7.
Yeah,
Why
which
do
was
you
a
think
radio
these could have been locked
hit.
out?
Yeah, I mean, these are mainstream hits that should have been considered, and hopefully they were considered, but it's a bummer they didn't make the cut.
Yeah, and I hope, you know, of course, the BTS never gives up, the ARMY never gives up, so I'm sure we'll see more of them in the next year, and hopefully they'll get the representation they deserve in the next Grammy.
I mean, don't get me started, because J-Hope and J. Cole should have been nominated as well. But what other snubs did you guys notice?
Latin music.
Yeah, Latin for sure.
Not at all in the big 4 categories, which is shocking because Latin has been taking over not only in the past year, but just over the past 5 years that you're like, are we still not putting Latin music in the top 4 categories?
Yeah, especially after the huge years for Karol G and for Peso Pluma. And Carol actually did get a nomination for the Urbana Musica, sorry for butchering that, category. But I think people expected her songs to get some nominations as well, and they didn't.
And I think that's shocking for me too, considering Bad Bunny had such a huge year last year, being nominated for Album of the Year.
Yeah, it kind of felt like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, because we didn't see any of that representation in the top this year.
And going into music's biggest night, what are you guys most excited for?
We've been talking a lot about Best New Artist, and so I'm very excited to see who's going to take that home.
Yes, absolutely.
Because 2 of my biggest obsessions this year were Jelly Roll and Noah Khan, and they're both in that category, and I
what's
want
Bunny
one of them
XO gonna wear?
I know, and where's Bunny XO? I want to see her. That's what I'm looking forward to,
right.
seeing Bunny XO at the Grammys.
I'm thrilled about SZA's night. Like, I hope she has a huge night. She's performing, we just found out, so like, it's gonna be, I think, her night, fingers crossed.
Well, thank you guys both so much for your knowledge as always, and I'll see you later.
Thanks for having
Grammy
us.
night.
We promised we would introduce you to all the Best New Artist nominees, so let's get started. First up, singer-songwriter Gracie Abrams.
you at the right time. This is what it feels like.
I feel so close to my audience, like it means so much to me, and so I kind of automatically feel just like this overwhelming sense of gratitude.
Next up, we're going to dig deep into the Big Four, the categories that gets everyone talking. You know them: Record of the Year, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, and Best New Artist. Senior editor Lindsay Havens has it all covered. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm loving the black, looking sleek and beautiful, girl.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about a big takeaway, which is that women dominated. SZA has 9 nominations. Why was this such a big year for women?
I think that it has always been a big year for women. A lot of my favorite music is made by women artists. I think that this year the Grammys is recognizing that, and we're seeing it across the board, specifically in these Big Four categories.
Well, do you think any women surprised you this year that you didn't see coming?
Miley Cyrus. I have been a Miley fan forever, but again, I think the Grammys caught up, and they're recognizing her across the board for her album, Endless Summer Vacation, and obviously her mega hit, Flowers.
Well, it's a party in the USA for me, but you know, Flowers was also a bop. And let's talk about how they changed the categories from 10 to 8.
Yes.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Yeah, so it went up to 10 for 2 years, and we've brought it back down to 8, which I think a lot of us are grateful for. It just helps us focus a little bit to see who actually did cut through, who broke through the noise. Obviously, it's hard to reduce because so many artists are worthy and make such great music throughout the year. But in terms of the consumers, people who are watching the show, tuning in, it's really helpful to just focus on these 8 names.
Yeah, I think 10 is a lot.
It is, yeah.
And something that used to confuse me was actually Record of the Year and Song of the Year.
Yes.
So can you help kind of break that down for those
You are
that
not
don't
alone.
know? What are the differences in those categories?
So Record of the Year, the best way for me to think about it is the most inescapable songs that we heard throughout the year. And then for Song of the Year, it's a Songwriters Award. You could think of it as a Storytellers Award. You know, the songs that tell you a story, and it goes to the songwriter themselves versus Record of the Year is for the artist.
Oh, interesting. So, well, what songwriters do you feel told good stories, Lindsay?
Well, there's a clear frontrunner in my mind, Billie Eilish and Phineas. No surprise there with their Barbie song, What Was I Made For? It already took home a Golden Globe. It's Oscar nominated. The two of them just tap into something so magical in the studio to the point where then as a listener, we feel like we're in there with them. So to me, that feels a bit obvious. Again, Flowers, that could be a front runner. I think it helps for people who've heard the demo version of that song. Not that that's the one that's nominated, but you can hear the intimacy behind that record, which I think is really beautiful.
You've given me some homework. And, well, Record of the Year, who are some of the big nominees in that one?
All right, so Taylor Swift is a name that often comes up there. Anti-Hero, again, thinking about the most inescapable music of the year. That song was everywhere. And then for me, the other one that goes hand in hand, again, Flowers. That song, everywhere I turned, I heard it. I did a really great piece with over 10 of her collaborators, sort of tracking how that album got made, Endless Summer Vacation. And one of the collaborators said that they were out of the country for a week and the only song that they heard was Flowers.
Wow.
So I just think that it really has global reach, and again, it's Miley's time. I would love to see her take home one win this year.
That would be a big deal.
Yeah.
Now, a category that had me shook was Best New Artist. Because, I mean, you look at that category and you have pop, gospel, R&B, hip-hop, country, all represented. So, how do you sift through that? Who's the front runner there?
This is a category I'm very grateful to go from 10 to 8 for, because just looking at these 8, like you said, it's all across the board, and in terms of age as well. It's a really diverse group that we have here. I would not be shocked if it went to Ice Spice. I just think that she's had such a stellar year, obviously collabed with Taylor Swift, came out on an Eras Tour stop, just had a new song drop, a bit divisive, perhaps. It's interesting, but top of mind right now. But in terms of the names that have come up the most, I do think the race is between Victoria Monet and Noah Kahan.
Well, who is your pick?
If I had to pick, I love Noah. I think Noah's had such a phenomenal year. He's an artist as well who's done a really good job at staying top of mind with an album that came out a long time ago. But that being said, for the last 6 years, I believe a solo woman artist took home Best New Artist. So we could continue down that road, which, if it's a woman, I won't be mad.
For me, I don't know. I'm excited about Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
And also War and Treaty. I think that's my #1 pick for this category.
So if they were to win, they would actually be the first married duo to ever take home Best New Artist, which would be really fun.
Oh my God, that's crazy. And of course, the most important category, Album of the Year.
Yes.
Who's your front runner?
It has to go to SZA with SOS. That album came out at the end of December, and if you think about now we're at the beginning of 2024 and it feels just as relevant, just as impactful. I'm hearing those songs everywhere, especially Kill Bill, which is also nominated. I just think she's so deserving, and this album, we waited a long time for it, and I really think she delivered.
But I also feel like there might be something historic that could happen in Album of the Year for people that may go by the name Swifties.
Yes, you are very right. If Taylor Swift wins for Midnights, she will be the first artist to win Album of the Year 4 times.
That's what, 4 Album of the Year trophies.
Yes.
Okay, well, I can't wait to see which one of your predictions come true.
Yeah, hopefully at least one. I'd be very happy about that.
Thanks for hanging out, Lindsay.
Thanks.
Let's get right into our second Best New Artist. We have 8 to show you. And our next highlight is a DJ who became a huge hit during the pandemic. When people weren't able to go to the clubs, he brought the club to them. I enjoyed it. Introducing DJ Fred again. We might be at Soho Warehouse, but this isn't Soho's only iconic spot in LA. And Wednesday night, we headed over to Soho West Hollywood to soak in the amazing views and the undeniable talent that is Janelle Monáe.
We came to celebrate the Age of Pleasure being nominated for 2 Grammys.
Talk about excitement over first-time nominees. Dom Dolla had a huge 2023, and his first Grammy nomination proves it. He's been lighting up festivals and keeping us dancing all year long, nominated for Best Remix Recording for his work on Gorillaz' New Gold featuring Tame Impala and Booty Brown. Our director of Billboard Dance sat down with him to chat all about it.
I want to start with knowing exactly what you were doing when you found out that you were nominated.
I was in bed. I woke up, checked my phone, and just started swearing. It was a weird morning. Honestly, back home in Australia, it's the award that all of my Australian friends and families understand as like the highest echelon of, of music. So honestly, that's been the coolest part. Like I was just back home in Australia with all my relatives, and they were like, bugging out over it.
Sure, they understand how big what you do that they may not understand on a day-to-day basis has actually become.
Yeah, like don't you uncles and aunties at the Christmas dinner, right? You're a DJ, right? So now like, oh, okay, it's like actually, you're doing pretty good with the music production and songwriting stuff. So.
You're nominated for remixing Gorillaz' New Gold. Gorillaz is obviously a legendary act. Did you feel any nervousness when you got the stems, when you got the project, about how to approach it?
Yeah, I think that record in particular, it had a top line or a vocal from Booty Brown, Kevin Parker, Tame Impala. Not really something I wanted to half cook, you know. So I actually went through probably like 4 or 5 versions until I found a version that I was really, really happy with. And I actually played it, had a chance to open with it here in Los Angeles at a show, and I knew the second that I was like, I'm feeling pretty confident about this. You never really know though until you play it in front of an audience. Yeah, I knew straight away. I was like, we're on here. That's generally my measuring stick.
From dance to country, we have to talk about one of the biggest genres to take over the airwaves this last year. From breaking records on the Billboard charts to inciting some of the biggest conversations of the year, country music is always entertaining. Billboard's executive editor West Coast in Nashville, Melinda Newman, joins me now to talk all things country. Thanks for coming.
Hi, Tetris.
Hi. Now, country had this massive resurgence, okay? So why do you think it's so hot right now?
I think what happened is you had these younger artists come into the format, and fans don't care what genre is now. If they're streaming, they just care if they like the song. So you had artists like Morgan Wallen with Last Night. You had artists like Luke Combs with Fast Car, or Lainey Wilson, and these songs just ignited fans across all genres.
And I mean, it showed on the All Genres chart, our Billboard Hot 100. At one point, historically, I mean, country songs were #1 and #2 on the chart. Talk about that.
It was really a watershed year in terms of what was happening on the chart. There were 4 songs that hit #1. that were country songs on the Billboard 100 this year, and it was the first time that had happened since the 70s.
And do you think like it was a lot of the conversation? Because of course some of these songs did come with their share of controversy. Do you think that has a lot to do with that kind of high chart placement?
Yes. Some of these songs were propelled by controversy. For example, Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town, that went to #1 on both the Hot 100 and Country Airplay. But for the Hot 100, it was really propelled by his fans wanting to show their support for him, so they actually bought that song. The downloads on that song were huge. So that was something else that factored into country's success this year.
And now you got to take the charts and translate that into the Grammy Awards. So with country having this sort of big year, they're kind of left out of the big 4 categories. Why do you think that is?
It's a lot of factors, and it really is annoying, quite honestly. When you look at how well country did, and then when you look at the Grammy nominations in the big 4 categories, Jelly Roll is the only mainstream country artist nominated in the big 4, and that's for Best New Artist. Warren Treaty are also nominated for Best New Artist, but they're more Americana. They're not necessarily mainstream country, as wonderful as they are. So there are a couple of reasons why this is happening. One is that the votership doesn't skew enough towards country. So the Grammys need to bring in more country voters. And there's still a perception a lot of the time that country is just hillbilly music and that people aren't really listening to it and it's not the same quality. And I think this year really showed that's not true, and the Grammys just need to catch up.
Well, I mean, the Grammys could be far behind with this one because I would say one of the biggest snubs I noticed was Morgan Wallen. I mean, Last Night was the biggest song on the Billboard Hot 100 this year, but was not nominated. What did you think of that snub?
I think there's still a lot going on with Morgan. I think there's some people that have not forgiven him yet for the racial slur that was 3 years ago. I think people are catching up with him in a lot of ways and deciding if they want to move on from that. The song is nominated for Best Country Song, but you're right, it's not nominated for Best Song overall. And additionally, he has no nominations at all. He did not write the song. So he's completely blanked out. And other than Taylor Swift, he had the absolute biggest year last year of any artist.
And I mean, do you think country's gonna continue to kind of have this year? Are you looking forward to the future?
I think where country is really on a roll right now, and I don't see any stop. It's bringing in new fans, it's bringing in a younger audience, and that's really what you need to do to keep the lifeblood going. So I don't see any stop in sight.
Well, I love having you here. I had so much fun in Nashville last time with you. I feel like everybody there knows you, so make sure you take me next time you go to Nashville.
Deal.
We'll catch up with Melinda a bit later in the show, but let's keep the party going on in here with our third Best New Artist. This artist can't be stopped. She's been topping charts, collaborating with some of the biggest in hip-hop, and rapping her way into a Best New Artist nomination. She also has a song with a bodily function in the title. Gotta love her. Introducing Ice Spice.
In the hood, I'm like Princess Diana. I'm thick cause I be eating oats. Bitch not taking shit from me, but no. Did manifest being successful. I'm so happy I put in that time and that work because it's paying off.
Soho House stays on the pulse of what's hot in entertainment, and with Afrobeats taking over the Music Digest last year, it's no surprise that right here at Warehouse on Thursday night, they invited David O for the vibes.
Hey, Soho, 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 Soho. One time LA, one time OVO. I'll be on the phone. Hey,
ever wonder what it's like to walk down the Grammy red carpet? All the lights shining on you, your moment in the spotlight. No? Just me? Well, here's your chance. We're bringing you behind the scenes to what really goes down on the red carpet. Take a look. So right behind us is the set at the Grammys where we're going to be interviewing all the big nominees.
I'm so excited.
Yes!
And look at this carpet.
What? Oh, the fashion's going to be amazing. Can't wait for it.
I can't wait.
So I was wondering, do we ask Nicki Minaj this?
We could actually, and then we could also bring up the other thing.
Oh, that. We could definitely bring up that. I was wondering, what are you thinking for Olivia Rodrigo?
That would be so cool if we ended up getting her because then we could talk about this.
Ooh, yes, yes, yes. speaking of fashion and the red carpet, which I still don't think I'm prepared for.
Me neither.
Rania, who are you excited to see?
I gotta say, I am so excited to see Miley Cyrus.
Oh.
I love her, grew up with her, and she seems like she's in this very chic, fashion-forward era. She's wearing Versace all the time. She's got Dolce & Gabbana all the time. Like, she's in this really cool, fresh but classic Hollywood era.
And I mean, Lindsay was talking about her earlier. I didn't realize Miley was gonna be like the it girl this year.
Oh, 100. She's always the it girl. Can we just be real? I mean, speaking of it girls, we have Taylor Swift also.
My
on the
it
carpet.
girl.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing we know about Taylor is she always dresses for the era she's in right now. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of hoping for a Reputation tease
Oh,
again.
I need some Reputation tease. I would love to see like her do the curls from Reputation era, maybe some snake stuff somewhere.
I mean, she's got to do snakeskin at this point. We're
Please.
begging for it. We're begging for it. And speaking of eras, Dua Lipa's in her red hair era right now.
Oh, she is.
And she looks amazing. Recently, she's been rocking the full monochromatic red, and I'm wondering if she's going to do the same at the Grammys.
Dua Lipa always kills the fashion game.
She really does, and she's nominated for Barbie. So I'm actually kind of, on the other hand, hoping she pulls a Little Mermaid Barbie moment.
I was about to say she should do like a pink look.
Right?
All the Barbie people should do pink, including Billie Eilish.
100%. I would love that. I would live for it. Might as well close out the Barbie year with something fun in fashion, right? And Troye Sivan always brings it on the carpet.
I want to
mean,
be Troye Sivan.
Right?
Like, I'm not confident enough to wear his looks, but he always looks great.
I mean, I want to be Troye Sivan. We got to talk to him about that on the carpet. We
must.
need fashion advice from him. And Victoria Monet, she's having a big day at the Grammys.
Right?
I mean, she's got to bring the looks.
I mean, when you have 7 nominations, you got to show up prepared to show everybody exactly who you are.
Because you know she's going to get a lot of screen time.
So much screen time.
And lastly, Madison Beer, the most beautiful person I've ever seen. Doesn't even matter. She could wear a garbage bag to the carpet. And
She's
she'd
gonna
be-
wear a garbage bag today.
Right. And she would be the most beautiful person I've ever seen.
And I got some tea. We actually will be getting ready with Madison Beer in her hotel, so look for that on Billboard News.
No garbage bag, I promise.
Well, thanks so much, Rania. Speaking of fashion moments, another person we can't wait to see rock the red carpet is Coco Jones. She is our next Best New Artist nominee. If it feels like you've been hearing about her for a year, well, it's because she's not new to the spotlight. A former Disney star, she is now taking the music world by storm. Introducing Coco Jones.
And though we may grow, I don't know.
I'm excited to make new memories. I can't wait to bring my mom and for her to see, you know, everything that we've been working for pay off.
And bringing the vocals to Soho Warehouse today, we got Scott Hoying of Pentatonix.
What's
my
up?
man?
How are you?
I
So
am
good to see
good.
you.
You must be doing really well. You're no
Oh my gosh.
stranger to the Grammys, but 5 times nominated, 3-time winner, and nominated again this year for Holidays Around the World.
Yeah.
So how does that feel?
It feels unbelievable. It's super surreal. It's just, I feel so lucky and honored to just be here and be doing this, and to be celebrated by your peers in the music industry is such a beautiful feeling, and I'm honored.
And you talked about, you know, other massive artists, so who are you excited to see?
Ooh, oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited with everyone we're performing with, just to see them crush it. I'm gonna just be on stage frozen, just watching and obsessing. And I'm excited to see Joni Mitchell perform on the Grammys for the first time. She is an icon, one of the best songwriters, performers of all time, and I just cannot wait to see her up there. Her music is really special.
And I feel like you have a little bit of an inside scoop being in the industry. So
Oh my
tell me
gosh.
how you approach like looking at the big 4 categories. Who do you think is going to take home a lot of gold?
Ooh, I think that Taylor Swift will take home a lot. She is just...
She tends to do that.
She is just amazing, her songwriting, and somehow this year has been her best year yet. I don't know how that was possible.
None of us thought it was, and here she is.
And she has moved and just like really changed a lot of people's lives. And I think that if you can do that with music, you're deserving of a win.
And you talk about, you know, changing people with music, your own solo stuff. You were able to
yeah,
work
yeah.
on some solo projects this year. So how was that? What'd you learn about yourself?
It was so amazing. It's such an interesting, different process when you're in a group. It's a collaboration. It's a combination of your stories or your stories as a group. And that's amazing and fulfilling and beautiful. And then solo, it's like really, really vulnerable, because all of a sudden you realize like, this is my personal story. These are my solo words, and it just feels a little bit rawer. I think that it was a beautiful therapeutic journey for me to put my vulnerable self out there. And it was also scary, and it was a growing learning experience, and I loved it so much. And what's cool about Pentatonix, I love that we all let each other do our solo things so we can fill that cup and then bring it back to Pentatonix and have those experiences to apply to the group, and it's been a beautiful journey for sure.
And bringing it back to your group, Pentatonix, you guys got a star on the Walk of Fame in 2023. That's wild.
Wild.
You know, completed your tour, so what's next for you guys?
I mean, that was such a crazy thing. And what's next? We are really trying to like get super creative and do something bold and different for us. Just find like a medium to apply what we do, and just no limits. Like just stepping outside of the box and doing whatever feels natural and we flow to. And we're really excited.
And you know, I think maybe there's something you can tell me that you guys might be preparing that you can tease a little bit?
Yes, oh my gosh. Mark and I wrote a children's book called How Lucky Am I? And it's gonna be published May 21st. It'll be out, and we are just so proud of it. And it was one of our first big creative projects together, and it was such a beautiful experience as we start this new chapter of our lives. And I just can't wait for everyone to see it.
Well, I can't wait to read it. Well, I also know you have to get over to the Grammys and perform, so thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me. It's always so good to see you.
And though we are showing you how beautiful Soho Warehouse may be during the day, none of the crowd packing in these walls on Friday night was expecting this epicness. Secret Sound shocked members with the soulful stylings of Summer Walker. The Grammy celebrations don't happen all in just one night. There is a week of parties leading up to the big event. The brightest stars come out to party, schmooze, and celebrate their achievements, all with a cocktail or two in hand. Billboard was at all the festivities. Take a look. Girl, I am tired just rewatching all of that, but now I have Melinda Newman back. She's been inside some of the biggest Grammy parties, including one that happened just last night, the Clive Davis party. How are you still standing?
My theory is by the time the Grammys roll around, you should be exhausted.
Well, we're working really hard to make sure that happens. I need an espresso martini. But before that starts, I want to play a clip from our recent interview with Justin Tranter, explaining just how epic the party actually is.
The Clive Davis party the night before the Grammys is a legendary event, and I do not take it lightly that I get invited. I've been invited, I think, like 6 years now, and every year I can't believe that I get to go. It's like the Grammys, but like private, you know what I mean? It's like that level of performances. Sometimes the performances are even more special because it's so much more intimate. A lot of people leave that party early because they have other things to go to, and they're, I don't want to say jaded, they've just been in it so long. Every year can't believe that I get to go, and so I've sit my little gay ass down and watch the whole show and cheer and applaud, and it's amazing. That's kind of my favorite event every year.
Okay, so we just saw Justin's take on the party. Were they right?
The thing about Clive's party is you never know who's going to be there. You can walk in right beside Tom Hanks or Sylvester Stallone or Bruce Springsteen, and that's what makes it such a magical night.
And I mean, Melinda, I've been on the carpet before, but I've never been inside the party. What about the performances?
The performances are great, and Clive always tries to mix it up. So you usually have someone who is brand new that he wants to introduce to the room, and then you have someone classic that he's had a long relationship with, like a Barry Manilow or a Gladys Knight. So it's always a perfect mix.
Ah, that sounds so fun. One day I hope to be like you. Let's continue the fun with our next best new artist. Melinda, this one you are very familiar with. Country superstar Jelly Roll had a huge year. You even interviewed him for a Billboard cover.
He is so wonderful, and he's making such an impact on people's lives with his songs, with his honesty. He just testified before Congress about the fentanyl problem. So he's really an artist that's having an impact on the charts and with people and resonating with them.
That guy is just a big ball of love. Gotta love him. Without further ado, introducing Jelly Roll.
I want to make people feel the way this makes me feel because we've just always been hyper-focused on the feeling of music.
This year, the Recording Academy added 3 new categories to the 2024 Grammy Awards, including Best African Music Performance, Best Alternative Jazz Album, and Best Pop Dance Recording. To break down all 3 categories and talk about some of the nominees in each one, our Director of Billboard Dance, Katie Bain. That's a lot of information you got to break down for me.
Well, let's do it.
I'm ready to jump into it. So why does a new category get added to the Grammys?
It's really a response to demands in the market and the evolution of genres themselves. For example, with Best African Music Performance, obviously Afrobeats, Amapiano in the last few years has become globally huge. The Grammys didn't have a category for that specifically. Many critics think that this category is long overdue, but it's also coming at the exact right time because we've seen the rise of artists like Burna Boy, Davido, and it would make sense for the Grammys to now acknowledge this super popular global genre.
And when it comes to the dance category specifically, why do you think that one was asked for?
There's long been a divide within the dance music community about how dance music is acknowledged at the Grammys because there are so many different types. So it's hard to compare a, let's say, Skrillex track with an Aphex Twin track, with a David Guetta track, with a Swedish House Mafia track. We're essentially talking about very different styles of music. They all fall under the dance umbrella, but one is dance pop, one is experimental, one is bass. And so it wasn't really accurate, and it made for some really strange bedfellows for these songs and albums to be in the same category. And so this new one is really being celebrated as a win for the dance music community.
And to throw you a curveball, because I'm just going from my own personal knowledge, I remember being excited when Britney Spears' Toxic won in the dance category. So is this new switch kind of reacting to kind of these pop divas versus maybe the DJs?
It's essentially that, because when Britney Spears won for Toxic, it was also in the era when the Electronic Awards were nominating Lady Gaga, they were nominating Madonna, but at the same time you would have those pop stars next to an artist like the Chemical Brothers. So it was, again, sort of this strange mix of artists that didn't necessarily belong in the same genre, but the Grammys didn't really have anywhere else to put some of these songs. And so this division creates a space for the Kylie Minogues of the world, for the David Guettas with the BB Rexes of the world. That are, essentially they're pop songs, but they of course are produced by dance artists and they have a dance backbone, and it leaves space for people like Aphex Twin and Skrillex.
And is the community reacting well to the new category?
Extremely well. People are really happy because not only it gives a division among the categories, among the genres that is long been needed, but it gives dance music much more recognition. You're getting 5 more artists, 5 more songs, and so it's just raising the genre profile at the awards in general.
Well, I know you have to have a favorite, so what do you think about the nominees and who are you pushing for?
It's probably got to be Padam Padam. It's got to be Kylie. That song was a huge hit. Everybody loved it, and so that's my choice.
I feel so much smarter now. Thanks, Katie. Padam Padam indeed.
Padam Padam to you, Tetris. Thank you.
Our next Best New Artist has been praised for his honest lyrics and down-to-earth personality, giving folk music a pop twist and bringing it to the mainstream. Introducing Noah Kahan.
So I thought that if I piled something good and all my bad.
I feel so fulfilled making this music. It's been really challenging, but really cool, and it's an opportunity and an experience that not all artists get.
We can't end the show without talking about a music genre that's having a huge resurgence. In fact, 2 of the Best New Artist nominees are R&B artists is making a comeback in a big way. Hello, Usher. We also just celebrated 50 years of hip-hop. We're so pleased to welcome Gail Mitchell, Executive Director of R&B and Hip Hop, to talk about some of the biggest things that happened this year. Hey, Queen.
Hey, how are you doing?
How's it feel having this big year in R&B?
It's just great. I was thinking about it coming over here, and it's a bumper crop. And you hate to say that, it's the 2024, and why are we saying this should be the norm and not the exception? But it's just been a great, great year in R&B with Coco Jones, one of the best new artists, as you said, Victoria Monet. These are women who kept their eyes on the prize in the genre, starting young, writing, doing different things. Coco doing Disney shows and movies in Bel Air. Then you got Victoria Monet writing with Ariana Grande and stuff. But they always had this singular vision of being singers in their own rights. And here they are. Coco, a first-time nominee with 5. Oh
and
my
Victoria
God.
Monet with 7 nominations.
Exactly.
What do you feel like it is about her that kind of resonated with everyone?
Well, she understands everything from inside out, especially on the creative side, the whole songwriting process. And she found her voice, you know, working with Rodney Jerkins early on and then working with D-Mile on Jaguar 2. She just is able to zone in, and she's got the experience of writing for an Ariana Grande and other artists in the past. And internalizing that, as well as finding her own song in that and branching out. So, yeah.
And then you have these new artists like this. I don't know if you saw the conversation on The Breakfast Club, where they were kind of comparing like SZA to Mary J. Blige. Do you think there's a difference in kind of this new crop of R&B women and some of the legends that we know?
Well, I think a lot of times people, well, they always want to categorize everything. And yeah, there's the Arethas and the Shakas. And that of the time, that was one kind of R&B and soul when soul music really took off, the Marvin Gaye's, that kind of thing. I don't like to compare somebody to somebody else because there's a lot of lanes. I think that's what people aren't understanding about today's R&B. It's colorful. There's alt R&B. You don't have to. There's R&B with the hip hop lean like Mary J. Blige. There's just different nuances that I think people need to just open their ears and listen and just see just how much of a gumbo there is out there for every taste in the genre.
And R&B's obviously having a big year. Hip-hop always has an amazing year. But we also celebrated 50 years of hip-hop this year. So how was that?
It's tremendous. The genre that everybody dismissed as a fad and it's not going to last. And then every year it would be like it's not going to last. And then here we are 50 years later and it's lasting and it's still doing great guns with the streaming and the popularity of the genre globally, you know.
And from R&B to hip hop and back to R&B, how excited are you for Usher at the Super Bowl?
I am so excited. I think the whole world is super excited. I think, you know, a lot of people, I've interviewed him several times and he said, you know, people sometimes tour, you know, everybody has their ebbs and flows and maybe certain albums didn't sell as well as other albums, but he still hung in there and had a lot to show. And I think with the 2 residencies over the last 3 years between the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace and Dolby Live at Park MGM, there's a renewed resurgence. You know, he's I won't say the king of R&B because you got Michael and other folks out there and whatever, but he really did rep for the genre. He's always repped for the genre. He hasn't, you know, and again, as you asked me earlier about there's different R&B. He's experimenting, working with Lotto, working with different people. So I think it's going to be tremendous. My concern is, how do you fit 30
so many
years?
Did you see the Vegas show?
Yes. How do you fit those
goodness.
songs in 12? He told me it's 12 to 15 minutes he has. I couldn't even begin.
Like, I can't imagine how you consolidate even the Vegas show into 15 minutes. Like, it's going to be wild.
Exactly.
I can't wait. Well, thanks so much. I always learn so much hanging out with you, Gail.
Same here.
Speaking of R&B, our next new artist is already an R&B superstar. She first hit the scene in 2014 with her debut album, but was better known for her role behind the scenes, writing hit songs for Ariana Grande, Blackpink, and more. Up for 7 Grammy Awards in total, now it's Victoria Monet's time to shine.
I put that on my own mama, on my hood.
I really just like having that ability to kind of help people express themselves or escape from whatever troubles that they have, make them happy, entertain them.
As we get closer and closer to music's biggest night and get ready to hit the red carpet, we can't forget the performances. That's really what we're here to see, right, Rania?
100%, and one person that I know you and I are so excited about.
Who is it?
Olivia Rodrigo.
Oh my God, obviously, see you tonight. Hey, it's a bad idea, right? It's gonna be a good idea.
Good idea for Olivia Rodrigo to be performing at the Grammys
so excited.
this year. I'm so excited. She always does an incredible job. And we got a lot of classic performers going on this year,
Yeah, like you too.
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel, it's gonna be so exciting.
100%. 100% as a New Yorker, I got to shout out to like my hometown guy, Billy Joel. And then we also have Joni Mitchell, which is iconic.
Crazy to have like all these icons performing. I feel like that would make me nervous as a newcomer.
I mean, the newcomers are bringing it too. We got Burna Boy, Luke Combs. I mean, even SZA, we can argue, is like in her new prime right now. And they're doing great. They're taking over music.
And taking over the Crypto.com arena is Travis Scott. How are we feeling about him taking the stage?
I mean, one thing about Travis Scott, he definitely knows how to bring a show. I feel like we're gonna get pyrotechnics, we're gonna get visuals, we're gonna get rap, we're gonna get the whole big, you know, aesthetic that we want from a big Grammy show.
Travis is always gonna bring the party. I'm also really excited to see my friends Warren Treaty at the show, so let's end with our final Best New Artist. They're some of my faves. The real-life couple first met in 2010 when they both played at the same festival. They've gone through a couple of name changes, but have officially left their mark with songs inspired by soul and gospel. Last but certainly not least, introducing the Warren Treaty.
And heartbreak will always stay and never say goodbye.
So much love from the fans and people who are just now discovering us, and we're just so amped up about it.
So Rania, what are you looking forward to most?
I mean, I want Taylor Swift to win Album of the Year again. I just really do.
I mean, I hate to steal your answer, but same. I'm just gonna be on constant Taylor Swift watch all night. It's kind of my job. Are you ready to hit the red carpet?
I sure am.
Well, let's go celebrate music's biggest night, but first,
cheers!
Cheers! Oh yeah, needed that. Don't know how that's gonna work with me being on the carpet in just a few hours, but thank you so much guys for joining us to celebrate music's hottest night right here at Soho Warehouse in LA. I'm your host, Tetris Kelly, and we can't wait to see you on the red carpet, so head over to Billboard.com for all your Grammy updates, and we'll have you covered after the big night with everything you may have missed. So see you on the carpet. Bye.
Bye.
Yes.